23rd of August, Rabbi Moore, Parsha Hashavua. Hello, Rabbi Moore. How are you?
Okay.
I'm alive.
Yeah.
Seitse?
Hello, Lou. How are you?
Thank God, doing pretty well.
Good. You want to adjust your camera slightly, because don't see the bottom half of your beard.
Better?
Okay, it's a bit better. Okay, let's go.
Seitse?
Sorry?
Seitse?
Seitse, yeah. So we've been.
What pasuk?
So we got up to. Chapter Chof Aleph. We just got up to the story Ben Jeremiah. Pasuk 18.
18. Okay. Ki yiyah leish bein sorer umo re einenu shomea bekol aviv uvekol imo v'yisru oso v'lo yishma alehem. If it will be that a man will have a son that is wayward and rebellious, he does not listen to the voice of his father or the voice of his mother, and they discipline him, and he doesn't listen to them. Okay, so Rashi, sorer means sar min haderech, turning from the way.
So just 1 second. Okay, I thought marriage. Okay, yes, sar min haderech. Sorer means he's sar min haderech, means he's left the correct path.
Umoreh means misarev bedivrei aviv, that he refuses the words of his father.
He's rebellious.
Right. Lashon mamrim. The word moreh is related to the word mamrim, rebels.
Right. So he's a rebellious son, a wayward and rebellious son.
Right. Wayward means he turns from the way. Right. And rebellious means he doesn't listen to his father.
Correct.
V'yisru oso, and they discipline him. Masrin bo, they warn him. Bifnei shalosha, before 3, meaning a court of 3 judges.
Right.
Umalkin oso, and they flog him if he transgresses despite the warning.
Right.
Ben sorer umoreh eno chayev. A wayward and rebellious son is not liable to punishment. Ad sheyig nov, until he steals. Vayochal tar tamar
Hatima.
Really? I have a
Sa.
seire under the
Okay.
stuff. Basar. He eats a amount of meat which is equal to 50 gold dinars, approximately 8 ounces. He must eat it in a single mouthful. That means he's
what your
a
note
glutton.
says.
What?
That's what your note says.
My note says he has to eat 8 ounces in a single mouthful without pausing, which I think means to say that he's a glutton.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my footnote, right? I was reading the footnote.
1 second, just 1 second. Going to the calculation first. This is 240 grams of meat. I'm just gonna
40 grams.
Hello.
240 grams.
I'm in the middle of giving a share. Is it very important? Okay, bye-bye. Sorry?
I was just writing down 240 grams. I presume that equals 8 ounces.
It's probably about approximately. In order to be liable, he must eat it half cooked in the way of bandits and in one mouthful. The Rambam. This is all quoting from the Rambam.
Oh, so it has to be half cooked. So it has
Mach Andrew Soy, which is mentioned Gabi Shabbos. That's considered.
so
Yeah.
So that makes it pretty unlikely.
Yeah, we're talking about somebody, a really bad boy.
Yeah, I mean, an 8 ounce steak is that's a good size serving. To eat
right.
that in one mouthful, half cooked, that's pretty extreme.
Yeah, it is pretty extreme. But on the other hand, we're going to see the major thing. Why should it be Chayav Misa? He's got really bad habits. He needs to go to see a therapist to really put him on the straight and narrow. He needs psychological help. Right. But why is the Chayav Misa? We'll see. Okay, let's continue a little bit.
Okay, so let's see.
Now,
Until he steals. I'm sorry, what?
Right? V'yochel tartima basa, he should eat this tartima of basa.
Vayishteh chetzi log yayin, and he drinks half a log of wine. And a log of wine, according to my footnote, is between 12 and 21 fluid ounces.
Right. Not a tremendous amount.
He has to drink it in a single drink.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, so I have a note. My note says the equivalent of either 172 or 300 milliliters of Italian wine, which is especially intoxicating. You must drink this quantity in one shot in order to be liable. Again, according to the Rambam.
Right. Shnei Amar, as it says, Zolel v'sovei, a glutton, and according to my English, it says a guzzler, but according to my note I wrote, it says a drunkard.
Right. That's how, in fact, I translated it. You just hold on 1 second. Yes. And he's a glutton for meat and a drunkard. A glutton and a drunkard, etc. Okay.
Right.
What word do they use there for drunkard?
Well,
Translation.
they say they translate the Art Scroll translates Vesove as a guzzler.
Okay.
But I wrote in here from some previous shir that I attended that it means drunkard.
Yeah. I wonder whose share that was from. Okay.
V'ne'emar, as it says, and it says, Al tihi v'sov a yayin. Do not be among the drunkards of wine. Bezolale basar lamo. Among those who devour meat for themselves.
Right. Now, okay, now Rashi makes a very important comment now.
Okay, let me see. Ben sorer umore ne'erag. A wayward and rebellious son is killed. Al shem sofo. Because of his end. Higia Torah l'sof dato. The Torah arrived at, i.e., foresaw the culmination of his way of thinking. Sof.
Yeah, okay. I think I've expressed it slightly different.
Okay.
To where his behavior is leading. Okay.
Well, it says dato.
Daito doesn't mean his way of thinking. Even though the term daito means mind, but it means where he's ending up, where he's going to end up.
Right. As
it doesn't necessarily refer to his actually what he's thinking about necessarily, but it means where he's going to end up. Okay. Soif, yes.
Sof shemechale mamon aviv. The end will be that he will exhaust his father's money. Excuse me. Umevakesh limodo.
Okay.
Limudo.
Uda.
And seek to maintain his habit.
Right.
The Eno Motse. And he won't find, the footnote says the money, he won't find money.
Right.
V'omeid befarashas de rabim, de rakim. He will then stand at the crossroads, umelas tame haberios, and he will rob people. Amra Torah, the Torah says, Yamus Zakai, let him die as an innocent person. Va'al Yamus Chayav, and not die as a guilty person. Now this is a big steerer to me, because we have the story of Yishmael.
Right.
And it says that Hashem heard the boy where he was. Meaning he may be doing a lot of sins in the future, but right now he's judged based on what he is right now. This is the exact opposite of that.
Yes, I'll read you out my notes. Okay, when God wished to produce water to save Ishmael, who was about to die of thirst, the angels protested. How can you rescue one whose descendants will cause your children to die of thirst? God replied that he was judging Ishmael by his present deeds and not by his future ones. See Rashi Bereshis 21:17. Ba'ashehu Shom. Mizrahi asks, why does the same principle not apply to the wayward son? He has
Great.
not committed has not yet committed any sin punishable by death. Your question.
Yeah.
So
That's wonderful.
Rabbi Moore in his footnotes asked this question. Okay?
Rabbi Moore's a great guy.
Okay. I agree with you. Anyway, he answers, the wayward son has already shown signs by his lustful behavior to where he is heading. Yishmael, however, had not yet shown any signs of that kind of evil behavior with which his descendants would act towards the Jewish people.
How can that be? Don't we learn that the reason that Sarah Imenu said send him away was because she knew that he was misbehaving, that he was shooting people with his arrows?
That is correct. But to go to the extent of causing the whole entire people to die of thirst, it was the Bnei Yishmael, where a guy is hunting and he's shooting people with arrows, means he's not out to kill the people direct, right? It means he's hunting for the sake of hunting. He wants his pleasure of hunting, and people get killed on the way. That's just too bad. Okay, that was the thing. But to actually go ahead, I mean, it may have been a precursor to show that how little he held of human life. That yes, but on the other hand, it is not necessarily an indicator that his descendants, Yishmael's descendants, will be of such show such cruelty as to cause the Jewish people to die of thirst. In fact, it says that the Ishmaelites gave them water skins, but they were empty. And they were more empty. I mean, they had something foul smelling inside them that they couldn't drink, obviously. And this in itself, should we say, forwarded the death of the Jewish people by thirst. No, it wasn't just, they just didn't give them water. It was worse than that. But anyway, they showed intense cruelty. That wasn't so evident in Yishmael's behavior now. That's what Mizrahi answers. Okay? That's one answer. Guaria answers, Guaria is the Maharal, answers that such considerations are relevant only in the deliberation of the heavenly court. However, the task of Beis Din on earth is to ensure that the offender reaches the world to come free of sins that would make him liable for heavenly punishment. To this end, they must look into what is likely to happen in the future. See also Marsha Rosh Hashanah 16b. So the Goaria is adding another very important factor over here. Could be, I mean, Lamaisa, I'll add in another part in a minute. I'll add another very important point, the difference, which highlights the difference between Beis Din on earth, the way the Beis Din on earth paskins, and the way the heavenly Beis Din paskins. But anyway, for the moment, that is the Ikka point which the Maharal is pointing out, that the Akadosh Baruch Hu has its different considerations. And therefore, he said, listen, right now, he's not on that level to be punished. Therefore, I'm going to let him be. That's what Hashem is saying. But Beis Din on earth have to look towards the future. And if the Torah prescribes that this is how this wayward son is to be dealt with, so Beis Din has to follow those rules. I'll highlight this. In fact, I'm not sure it's the same Maral. I don't think it is. I mean, Maral elsewhere in the Sibas Olam, Maral says a very important cloud. Kosh Baruch Hu accepts tshuva. Give an example. Chas v'shalom. This is somebody murders somebody else. Terrible sin. Maybe it's probably one of the worst sins that's possible. Okay, it's one of the 3 cardinal sins. Somebody killed somebody else. Now, then he does tshuva. Okay, how does HaKadosh Baruch Hu treat that person? HaKadosh Baruch Hu will accept his tshuva. He won't necessarily put him to death. What happens though, if a person kills somebody else, let's say Charlie kills Bill, and there's witnesses to the fact that Charlie killed Bill, and not only that, the witnesses warn Charlie about killing Bill, that if he does, he's going to be liable for the death penalty. But nevertheless, Charlie still went ahead and killed Bill. Okay? So they bring him to Bezdin, and Bezdin is judging the case, and the case is pretty clear cut. You got 2 Eidim actually witnessed the event, and they give evidence, and the evidence is proven, and they said they warned him, and that the fact they warned him is proven. Pretty clear cut. Then Charlie gets up and says, Rabbi Sai, you know, I did it. What can I do? I can't tell. I say I didn't do it. They've got Adam. But I've done tshuva. I have repented for my sin. What will Bezdin on earth? What will the Bezdin do?
They'll ignore what he said and they'll make the judgment based on what he did.
Right. They'll go ahead and kill him, even though he's done tshuva. What will HaKadosh Baruch Hu do? HaKadosh Baruch Hu will consider tshuva. What's the difference? So the Maral also, not on the Gur Aryeh, but in his Pirush Nesivos Olam, he says a very important klal, which requires, how should we say, thinking about, mulling over. He says the following difference. Bezdin on earth are only given the power of punishment, but not the power of reward. You never find that Bezdin give reward for somebody who's done a good deed. That's not Bezdin's realm, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu is manish. What's the lashon of the pasuk? I don't know how you call it. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives reward and he gives punishment. As it says in the Animamin, HaKadosh Baruch Hu noisin schar l'shomer mitzvosov u'manish le'ovrei mitzvosov. That HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives reward to those who keep his mitzvahs and punishes those who transgress his mitzvahs. Bezdin on earth are not given that power, that realm. They are only given the power to punish, obviously in the way the Torah prescribes, but they only have given the power to punish. Therefore, when Bezdin is faced with a situation when somebody's deserving of punishment, they can't consider tshuva, because tshuva is in a way of giving a person a reward for having done tshuva, and that will mitigate his death penalty. Bezdin on earth are not given that power. Bezdin Shomata, they're not given such a power. All they have to look at the facts that this person committed this grave sin, and there were Eidim who were witness to it, and they've testified, and they warned him. All they see in front of them, this is a classic case where we have to give the death penalty. Either the guy's done tshuva. Tshuva is already in the realm of reward, meaning this person, because he's done tshuva, he will now receive a reward. I call it reward. It doesn't necessarily mean a thing, but he's deserving of a mitigation of his punishment. Beis Din can't give a mitigation of punishment. Beis Din on earth, Beis Din Shalmato, are not empowered to mitigate any punishment which they are prescribed to do, is prescribed to carry out. Beis Din on earth don't have such a realm of power. Therefore, it's a difference. Kosh Baruch Hu, who gives reward and punishment, in the, shall we say, in the realm of reward, Kosh Baruch Hu can also mitigate the punishment. The Beis Din on earth don't have such a power. Anyway, so going back to over here, what is actually pretty amazing is what amazing over here is that who brings this boy? Chazal, we're going to see, Rashi doesn't mention it over here, but he has to be between the ages of 13 and 13 and a half. Why? Because the Torah describes him as a ben Soira or Meireh and not an ish Soira or Meireh. In other words, he's at the age where he's only a ben and not an ish. He's not right to be a father, which Chazal say that already at the age of 13 and a half, he's already a boy of 13 and a half is already right to be a father. Okay? Because if he marries at the age of 13, he could already have a child at the age of 13 and a half. But so he's between the age of 13 and 13 and a half. He has already shown such bad character traits that show him that he's, how should we say, there's no hope for him. And the people who realize that are the people who love him most, his parents. And they are the ones who will say, listen, right, we brought this child into the world and we want the very best for our child. And we see in this particular situation, the very best for our child is that we end his sojourn in this world. That he should, Shiyomos Zakai v'Yomos Chayev. The Maisa, in the Gemara and Sanhedrin, there's various opinions, but some say that it's never possible for it's never physically possible that there should be a Ben Soira Meireh. The Torah only wrote it as a warning. It's a hypothetical case. Why? Because according to one opinion, the father and the mother have to have the same voice. To which the Gemara says that if a man has the same voice as his wife, that means he has a high-pitched voice like a lady. And that means any man who has such a characteristic has a high-pitched voice like a lady, that means he has something, a problem of virility. Instead of speaking like a lady, she speaks like a man. That means
Rabbi, we lost you. We lost you. Can you go back and repeat your last sentence, please?
So that if a woman has a man's voice, that also is an indication that she is unable to have children.
But if a man has a woman's voice, what was the point there?
Man has a woman's voice, that means he's has a problem with his virility.
You mean
so
like
very likely to be sterile. He's sterile because he hasn't had a proper mature, physically mature, because his voice hasn't turned into a man's voice. There's an indication that he is sterile in his power of virility.
I see.
And similarly, the other way around, if a woman, right, one of the indications of the proper maturity of a woman is that it's a woman's voice, right? And if her voice turns into a man's voice, then it's likely, more than likely, it's almost a sure sign that she hasn't got a proper feminine maturity, and Mamela, she will not be able to have children. So either way, if the man has a woman's voice or the woman has a man's voice, because that means you're saying they have the same voice, that means it's not possible that this man and woman together would have been able to have a child. So therefore, says the Gemara, according to that opinion, there's no way they could have a child. So there can't be a Ben Seir or Moira. That's that one opinion. This was the other opinions say no, definitely there was such a situation that there was a Ben Seir or Moira. One man that says, yes, I even saw his grave. I'll go upon him. But either way, it was a very, very rare occasion that such a thing would happen. Okay, even if it is physically possible to be, but it was something very rare because the Maisa, most parents who have an innate love for their child more than anybody else, for them to go ahead to actually bring their child to Besdin and say, listen, we brought this child into the world, we tried to educate him, and his character is so rotten that we think the best thing for him is to terminate his life right here and now. For a parent to do that is like almost impossible. So therefore, the mice of the situation that they're in. But the point is, what the Torah is telling us is a very important educational message. Ultimately, if we really want the best for our child, right, is what's best for him is that he gets Olam Haba. Right? Not to give him whatever thing, well, we want him to be happy or whatever. What is really should be the parents' ambition, should we say, for their child is that my child will get Olam Haba. They'll have a chelik in Olam Haba. And if their child is so acting in such a bad way that if parents see that unless they terminate his life on earth right now, he's not going to get Olam Haba, then it's better we terminate his life. Which is a very strong educational message to all of us. Okay.
So you mentioned a strong educational message.
Yeah.
Which raises a question in my mind based on what you said about the difference between the Beis Din Shel Mala and the Beis Din Shel Mata, because we're supposed to emulate Hashem,
right?
Which means to me that we're supposed to study and understand Hashem's actions in order to be able to say, okay, I want to act similarly. Now, of course, we can't always do that. I understand that. We can't know if a person does tshuva. That you mentioned that, so we can't act on that basis. But when we can act on that basis, then we should. So to say that the earthly court can ignore the principle of the heavenly court when it is able to act on it, I don't understand that.
Okay, so you mentioned a point which I want to leave aside. There's 2 points which I mentioned about the difference between the heavenly court and the earthly court. As far as we are concerned right now, is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will be able to consider factors of the future, whereas, meaning can judge something now, even though his future may be rotten. Whereas Beis Din, as far as Beis Din is concerned, Beis Din judges the person as the Torah prescribes, that if his end is going to, foreseen end is going to be that he's going to be a danger to society, a spiritual danger, a physical danger to society, then we already terminate his life now.
But we don't know that.
Right?
That's something we're supposing, maybe, but we don't know for sure. We're not Hashem.
I tell you what, the Maisa, we have just a few seconds left according to the clock. I'll try to leave this till tomorrow, right? And I would like to complete this discussion then tomorrow, Bezat Hashem. Okay, I think we'll leave it here for now, and we'll discuss it again tomorrow, Bezat Hashem.
Okay, thank you so much, Rabbi.
Very good. Thank you.
Right,
Have a
be well.
good day.
Be well.
Good day,
Yechiel,
Yechiel.
Altuf.
Have a great
Bye-bye.
day.
Well.
Bye-bye.